All right, welcome everyone to the Koochiching County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. Would you please help me open with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, everyone. First item under county business is to approve the proposed agenda with additions and/or deletions. We do have one addition that we'll place just after financial business that we're going to call 3.1. It's going to be a presentation from Mr. Bob Christensen on a proposal that he has and a letter of support for his business here. So we'll do that at 3.1. Is there any other additions? No deletions? All right. With that addition, Chair would accept a motion to accept the proposed agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
A second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is to approve minutes from the February 11th, 2025 regular meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. And next up, financial business. Chair would accept a motion for items A, B, and C, which would be to approve courthouse claims, approve highway claims, and approve health and human service claims.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre.
I'll second. Go ahead.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion on the claims? Hearing no discussion, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Next up is to approve warrant voids. There's 3 of them here. First one is 262.84. Second one is for $325, and the third one is for $78.
Make the motion.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please, go ahead.
So I know that the Auditor Treasurer's Office is reviewing checks that haven't been cashed over the last year or so. And so there's more coming that haven't been cashed. They're waiting for affidavits. So we're just trying to clean up on whatever, for whatever reason they weren't cashed. So there should be some more coming in future meetings as well. But that's why I'm saying it's meant to be done.
Thank you. Yeah, there was affidavits being sent out, so Administrator Code just mentioned that there'll be more of these. We're just trying to clean up the ones that haven't been cashed and move forward with those ones. So waiting for some more affidavits, and there'll more likely be more of these voids. So, all right. With that, Chair would accept a motion to approve the voids.
Make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hull.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Any discussion on the voids? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Next up is our addition at 3.1. Come on up, Bob. Kind of, maybe if you want to let everybody know who you are and what you're doing, and
Yep.
sure, at least take a chair.
Just sit down. Yep. Yeah.
All right. So,
I won't take up too much of your time. My name is Bob Christensen. I own Ganneridge Tax Attorney and Login Processing, and my wife and I have RSC rental properties in town here. We live, we have a house out in on Rogers Corner on 97th, and we also have 60 acres out there also across On what we're looking for is a letter of support from you guys for federal funding and state grants to build a new 4,000 square foot butcher shop, storefront, slaughter room. Over the years, processing, I get a lot of farmers from Virginia to, all War Road. They just see that I'm a butcher. I just cut wild game, and our local farmers do. What they got to do is they have to truck all their livestock. The closest I think is Bagley, 100 miles away. Have it processed there, and then drive back and pick up thousands of pounds of meat to bring back with no refrigeration and hope everybody picks up. That's just one part of the business that we're talking about. The other part is the retail. We're looking at getting fully USDA inspected. So we'd be able to sell our food nationwide. It's not clear right now if we want to just do custom exempt right now and then make the move to full USDA. But there's a lot to this business. So my wife and I have been traveling around all over Minnesota visiting butcher shops. We've been working with Jenny Doherty, coming up with cost analysis and profitability, all that stuff. I got Ben Crew on board, Tom Luke on board. They want part of this. So what I'm asking from the county board is a letter. If you just kind of take a look at the local farmers alone, there's a lot of them, and they need someone, not just the beef but the pork. Lots more people are raising pork around here, and they're going to ship them down to Newark or Duluth, Bagley, and it's a big deal for them. Our facility would have a 20 by 40 walk-in freezer. So that would alleviate any of the issues that the farmers would have. So we would take them in live, slaughter, and then process. And then we would be responsible for holding meat till the customers would be picking up. There's a lot more to this. I could get into detail, there's so many things, but right now we're just starting the process. And we had talked to Mary Litzheim, I think that's her name. These government low-interest loans and grants are coming up soon, and right now we're the first ones to be on that list. And we're looking at breaking ground in the spring, summer of 26. So if we get earmarked for some of that grant money and low-interest loans, we would be set. So I leave for Alaska May 15th. I go and guide up there for the summer. So she wants me to have my application in with these letters by the end of March, if that's possible. If you guys would do that for me. And then we'll see where it goes from there. We're already up to $1 million in what we're going to be investing, and I think it's going to be a little bit more. Not only that, but we're looking at hiring 4 full-time and 1 part-time to start, and then as the business grows, at competitive wages. The profit margin is pretty big for a butcher shop up in this area.
Great.
Sounds great.
I think that's all I can say.
Well, Bob, well, thank you. Any questions for Bob?
No, that'll be good.
I talked to you about the sewer
Yeah.
and stuff, and
Yeah.
we had already talked to working with Matt Glenn and Jenny Doherty pretty close.
Well, what we can do, Bob, I think what we'll maybe, do you have any format or outline of any type of a draft that you have, or that where?
That I would say?
Yeah,
I think what they're looking for is, I have already a bunch of letters from local farmers that are very, very supportive of this. I think what they're looking for is is there a need for it in this community up here? So I guess that would be what I'm looking for. Not that I'm a great guy and all this stuff, but is there a need for it?
Yep.
You can call Jenny Doherty also and talk to her. We ran the numbers, and we talked to a lot of people. I know Ben Crew wanted to do this a long time ago, but it was a lot of money and it's a big headache. But once you are USDA, then you get through the HACCP plans, and I mean, just to hire somebody to do HACCP plans are 10 grand. You know, you get through all of that, and it's just kind of smooth sailing. You just run your business, and so they're just looking for, you know, I don't have a format. I mean,
How long you been doing this now, Bob?
doing what?
You're butchering and things like this here in the community? How
Just
many?
wild game. I've been, for about 20 years.
About 20, okay.
Yep.
It's just something that we...
2004,
Okay.
I started. That's when I left the mill. Best decision I ever made. Yeah. So yeah, just let me know. Vicky's got my number.
Yep.
Well, we'll get something drafted up, and then you can obviously take a look at it and approve it or whatever, and then we can get it on our agenda for our next scheduled meeting, which would be the first part of March. I think March 11th, we have another meeting. And you don't necessarily have to be here for that. We can just, with your approval, once we get something drafted, we'll just put it on the agenda.
If you guys have any questions on the details, feel free to call me anytime. I got my phone on me all the time, so.
All right.
All right, very good. Well, thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bob.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, please.
are you gonna draft that, or you want me to draft it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we just do a simple format if you want to take a look at it. Just a general letter of support with the narrative of the need, first and foremost, and then the service that's been provided in the area. We'll support local economy, local agriculture, local businesses, wholesale and retail. I think it's a good point. It would be wholeheartedly in support. We can get together and get
You wanna
something.
you want the board to make a motion on?
We certainly can.
I think that,
Okay. Chair would accept a motion to draft a letter for Mr. Christensen in support of his business expansion. And we'll bring that here again to take a look at it and stuff, but we'll just kind of get it going if he needs it here before the end of March, so.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hell.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Erickson. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Right, next up is human resource business. First on that agenda is consider approval to open recruitment for appraiser position.
Greetings, Commissioners. Happy Tuesday.
Hello.
Good morning. I here have Mr. Len Pearson here with me as well. So we had opened up a position back in September to replace Tracy Hammering, who left the assessor office. We did not have very many candidates or qualified candidates, so Len decided to take the position down. Specifically due to a slow season, right? They were entering a slow season, so why should we bring somebody on that's not qualified and spend that kind of money? Len here is asking to reopen that position.
Yeah, one of the reasons for that was we really had very little applicants the other year. So we brought them in, there's nothing they can do because during the wintertime, we don't go out in the field and all that kind of stuff. And what you have before you, and I thought this is good to bring this up because we're talking about hiring another appraiser a little bit later on in the meeting. We're talking about the mobile And so I did some research, and the paper that you have that says county findings on it, this is done by the state Department of Revenue. This is our county. And taxable real estate parcels is 17,179. Exempt parcels are 37,195. We've got over twice as many exempt parcels as we do taxable, okay? And bottom line, we got 55,028 parcels. The other sheet, this came out just yesterday. This is a Department of Revenue's report, state report of measuring. They track appraisers and number of parcels per appraiser and all that kind of stuff. And the average parcel per assessor is 4,107 statewide. The average taxable and exempt parcels is 4,547 tax-wide. If we have 3 appraisers and you take 17,000 parcels, that's 5,000 a parcel. That's 1,000 over the state average without putting in the tax exempt. What's interesting is if you look at that page and it says highest county average parcels per assessor, taxable and exempt parcels, 18,489 per appraiser. That 18,000 is Cooch County. and I just point that out that here's the bottom line, because I'm going to throw this in now because of the mobile discussion a little bit later. Mobile is not going to replace the county assessor in this county. When I made that statement that some county assessor said, perhaps at one time, depending on how this went, they could get by without one appraiser or whatever. That might be true in St. Louis County where you got 20, 30 appraiser. That's not going to happen here. I mean, if we don't hire another appraiser, all of a sudden your appraiser count goes from, 5,000 appraiser to 8,000 or 9,000 appraiser. I guarantee you the state of Minnesota is probably going to be knocking on my door wanting to know what's going on here. And I throw that out. And here's the other thing. Cooch County, we drive more than any other county, you know. And so I throw that out for your reference. And I took the time to look that up because I think it's important. And I think you understand we do a very, very good job. And we've got good appraisers. We desperately need another appraiser, and I'm not sure how that's going to go. But we're asking you, we want to reopen up the process to hire an appraiser. That's where it's at. And this just kind of tells you what our workload is.
What's an example of the exempt real estate? Is that some of the state properties too?
All churches, there's a lot of exempt land. All your schools are exempt, all that kind of property.
Yep, that can't add up to that number.
It's the number. You go on
That doesn't
you go
include
on
any state parcels?
each parcel. Yeah, that's numbers of parcels.
That the state of Minnesota owns part of that.
Well, it's either
Exempt
state, could be city. This building's exempt.
Yeah.
Say, it's amazing. I'll be honest with you. If you go on GIS, and I have a layer of tax exempt, and you look at the county, and then flip the switch for tax exempt, it just blackens almost the whole county because there's so much of it. And here's the other deal: tax exempt parcels have to be valued. Okay, they have to be valued. Churches have to be valued. The courthouse has to be valued. The land has to be valued. So just because they're tax exempt does not mean we don't value them. They're valued at the same standard as taxable property.
So my question would be then that part of this, if it was state land, we would get PILT money on. They were not paying taxes per se. We would get PILT money.
Some of it would probably apply to PILT in lieu of taxes, yeah.
I mean, that number is staggering.
It is, and we still have to physically look at each one of those. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yeah. It is staggering. I hadn't looked at it that close until I started getting into it last week. A year ago, that 4107, I think, was 3,800 per appraiser. And in our office, you're talking potentially 3 appraisers. I do commercial, okay? I'm not out in the field like the rest of the appraisers are. And that number of 3 is people in the field doing appraising on that.
So you're not in this number, your position?
You could probably back out maybe 600 parcels, commercial, whatever the commercial is. I don't know the full number of commercial in the county. It's primarily in the city of International Falls on that.
Does the state take care of their own stuff though? Isn't that part of what they do anymore?
What do you mean take care of their own stuff?
Do they rate their own parcels and just kind of like they do with the power lines, they kind of take the appraisals over because of the issue?
Not unless it's power lines and railroads.
Okay, just
We
active.
do everything else.
Just active services.
That's not in here, no.
Okay, all right.
No.
But a 40 acres in Black River country that belongs to the state,
That's in here.
That's
Not
in-
tax exempt.
but they're paying pilt on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that doesn't take away from our work.
But each individual, no, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying each individual 40 would have its own.
Yeah, you're right, and if people are thinking, well, we're losing money on that with the PILT, well, you get something back. Yeah. PILT, if you don't know, is payment in lieu of taxes. And I don't get involved in that.
You could look at that and number and say, well, man, we're not getting nothing. Well, we are.
Well, we are, but it don't change what we do.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I'm not sure I understand why the county has to appraise state land. But they should, I mean, they've
Well,
got.
it's fine, I understand, it's a state law, all property's
Well, it
gotta be
probably
assessed.
is, I just don't understand why.
No, I hear you. I don't understand some things they do, okay?
So do you assess the timber then on the PILT?
No, we
properties?
don't do any timber,
Okay.
no.
Because that kind of makes it maybe a little more valuable? Or does that not matter?
We don't get into that, and I'll tell you why. Nate would be a better one to talk about timber value. We don't get into it for a number of reasons. Number one, we're mass appraisers, we're not foresters. And what can happen, actually, you can have a 40 acres that hasn't been cut, and all of a sudden we'll find out that there was they sold the stumpage for $25,000, $30,000. Then they'll come in and say, well, hey, I want my value reduced because the stumpage is gone. We're not forested. I mean, so then we go back and you plant a tree and it's this high, we add a value, and the next year it's this high, we add a value. We don't do that in the big picture. And we don't get into valuing land by the type of soil. Our land value is basically, the state mandates what we have to call land. It has to be, help me out here, it has to be pasture, meadow, forest, other, that kind of stuff. That's what we call it. And then we have different layers of that depending on what we think, how wet it is and all that kind of stuff, see. But timber, we don't get into, Jason, at all on that. And we wouldn't have the experience to.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that's some of the reason why we have to assess it, I guess. You know, the properties that are owned by the state as well. I was just a question because it's a resource and
Yeah.
but maybe it's different
Well,
than
they
the
own a lot
power
of
lines
land.
and gas lines and things like that. So, okay. So the workload is the taxable real estate is the 17,179.
Well, the workload's 55,000 parcels.
55,000 parcels.
Yes, we have to inspect and value non-taxable land parcels, like churches. You know, we're kind of thinking land here, but if you think of all your churches and your government institutions and your schools and all that kind of stuff, that all has to be looked at, that has to be measured, we have to take photos, all that kind of stuff, sure.
On a what kind of a rotation? Is that,
Every 5 years, state mandate.
so you're looking at 11,000 parcels a year.
Yeah. You know, you talk about, we like the computers, and certainly the mobile, in my opinion, will help us do things faster. But now, it used to be, when we went into the camera system, we put in there, like, when we inspected them, we every 5 years. And now we have a quintile date in there where we put in the 5-year rotation. The state of Minnesota, when it comes to that time, will run a computer printout and say, here's all parcels over 5 years ago by date that you haven't looked at. And then we got to scramble to figure out, well, we're still looking at them this year. Maybe there's a section we just missed in the county, whatever. They're very adamant about we stay on course with that. On that, there's actually, I didn't print it, but there's a page that goes with that shows what percentage of the 5-year quintile all the counties are at. And it's probably around 95-98% of having that done. So but that's every 5 years. We have to look at everybody's property here once every 5 years.
Great. Wishes of the board.
Mr. Chair, can I
Yes,
just
please.
ask a question?
Yes, please, go ahead.
So just with all the technology that's coming out with mobile assessor, and then I know there's talk about replacing parcel info, and so that's gonna, my understanding, that's gonna gain some efficiencies. What will that do for your department?
It doesn't change that. We still have to be out in the field. We
Right.
still have to physically drive, walk, measure, and inspect all
I get that, so if it doesn't, if this efficiencies doesn't replace a position, what is it gonna allow your department to do with?
It'll help us get it done.
With time savings?
We'll just get it done faster. I mean, that's no different than a department that comes across new technology or whatever to make your job easier. We're not the only one that would maybe improve technology when it doesn't mean you're going to get rid of, a person or, technology is technology. Anytime, anything you can do to do your job better is a good deal. This is the first thing that's ever come along, to my knowledge, in the 20 years I've been here, that can do that. And, well, we'll talk about the mobile when that comes up. But the mobile, I'll make it very clear, the mobile will not negate hiring a person, period. The numbers are just too large here, you can see them. There's no way 2 people can manage that number of parcels.
And it looks like you have it in your budget already.
The mobile,
Oh, another assessor.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the problems hiring an appraiser is we could actually, if we put it out there, there's 3 different levers we could hire. There's somebody coming in the first level that has no license. Maybe somebody from another county would move in here and they've got a 2nd level license, or maybe they've got a AMA license. Tracy, who left, is an AMA. That's the highest of that level. That's what we're budgeted to right now. And so if they come in entry level, the county's saving money, of course, but in time they're gonna, in 5 years, whoever starts in 5 years, they gotta have an AMA license. That's state Minnesota law. If they're here and they don't get their AMA, they lose their state license. And that's not easy to sell when you're trying to hire somebody and you gotta take all this education and stuff. It makes it difficult.
I think I was told that we couldn't contract for that unit of work or whatever unit turns out to be. Why is that?
I don't follow you.
Instead of hiring somebody, we could contract.
Well, some
somebody.
counties have what they call a local appraiser. We've never had a local appraiser. There's never no need to have a local appraiser. At one time, if I'm not mistaken, was there not, International Falls had their own appraiser? And then it went to county?
I'm not sure.
I think so.
No, I'm just looking if there's any efficiencies with the commercial stuff, you know. If the commercial stuff could be kind of freed up from, let's say, your plate, would that be something that we could kind of switch over and turn the corner with, you know, going out and doing the mass appraising on the residentials? You know, if we have 60 a year of those, would it be beneficial to do that? Would it be beneficial to contract that to somebody and then kind of free up a person or whatever to move out into the field?
I know no county that does that.
Okay, well, there's always a first
No,
for everything.
I know
so.
no county that goes down that road. I can't answer why.
Okay.
I'm assuming
Well, I'm
it's
just-
just too much involved for the
Yeah.
qualifications and stuff.
Yeah.
And actually, you get into a different situation, if I understand this right, if you hire what's called a local appraiser. And they're a local appraiser, as I understand it. They're not under the same guidelines as I am or my appraisers. They're local appraisers. And what happened up north in the North Shore, they found out that the local appraisers were not inspecting new property that was built and stuff. They were skipping all that. And actually, this was quite a long time ago, they weren't following up on building permits or anything. The Department of Revenue stepped in and got rid of them all, told the county they're gone. And then the Department of Revenue sent people up to redo that whole area and then charge the county for it. So I don't really know. Do you guys know of any counties using locals anymore?
Locals are kind of going away.
Yeah, they're just, because
Well, I'm not talking
they don't have the
locals.
control
I'm
that
just talking your
the state
position
has over us.
in particular. Your position in particular is what I'm talking about. If there's any room to free up the commercial side of what you do in order to get that position freed up a
Well,
little
the
bit to
first
go.
question is you're going to find somebody that's got licenses for the
Exactly.
state of Minnesota.
Yep. Well, then that's the next
Same.
question, I guess, that, could be asked is, what is it going to take to get there? You know what I mean? And is there any leeway with the state
I'm not
on
aware
doing
of
that?
any other than going through the appraiser process that
Right,
we're in.
right, yep. But I mean, we could dig into that if that's, something that we want to look at too. We can always restructure things if that's the wishes, I think there could be some efficiencies, it was kind of sold to us that it was going to be.
I'll be honest with you,
but it was
you need
going
to
to be.
work with the Department of Revenue on that,
If
or you're going to get into a big mess.
Yep, I understand that.
Okay.
I understand that,
To be honest with you, I don't know why you want to go down that road, but that's just me.
Well, it's
We've
just.
got all of us here that are already licensed and everything.
Yep.
And,
Well, we can always, it doesn't hurt to take a look, I think, either. I think it takes,
That's your
to
call.
kind of see what we have or what efficiency we could have. So that's all. It's just a question of that. It's not a question of performance or anything like that. Is there, with this new program, is it going to be efficient enough to be able to do that? If we
No county,
contract,
to my knowledge,
so-
has done that.
Well, no, I don't know that because
I'm
I have.
telling you that. I mean, I know
yeah.
what counties have local appraisers and all that kind of stuff. I mean, if
Right.
you want to do your research, that's fine.
Yep, okay. Thank you. So that's, I don't know that that's the answer necessarily. I don't see it. We're not really given any other options here, it doesn't seem like. So we'd either go at it on our own and look into it and see if there's efficiencies that we could find and kind of put this on pause for a second, or we move forward with approving the hire.
We're already behind from Tracy being gone. Okay,
But you didn't have any applicants the first go around?
we had 4.
You had 4? None of them accepted, or
no.
what?
Not enough to get a good feel for, it was just not enough. Just wasn't enough.
Enough,
No.
enough what? Qualifications.
I didn't feel it was enough to make a decision on any one of the 4. I would like to have at least 8, 10, 12 applicants, bigger, broader range to select from.
Where would you expect them to come from?
Well, we'll find out. I don't know.
Send that out.
He's asked HR
statewide?
to reach out to the 4 candidates that have applied before. So he's asking me to reach out to them if the board approves replacing Tracy again. So we know we'll have those 4, but it is an unknown if there will be other candidates or anybody that's even considered qualified for this position, and then would then understand that they have 5 years in which to get this licensure. So from an HR standpoint, that's where I stand at. There's no guarantee that we're going to get anybody besides those 4, and those 4 might not even be considered, position again. They may have found something else, or life changed, or whatever. So that's the only thing that we do know.
So you're gonna go out to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think I heard you say that, you could hire somebody and then they could do their licensures, or what would be the minimum requirements?
Well, the minimum requirement, if they got a high school diploma, technically, I think, with some education, all their education stuff is paid for by the county, their transportation, their licensing, all that kind of stuff. But entry level is pretty much entry level, yeah.
Okay, well, I didn't understand that to start with. I thought you needed somebody with the qualifications to begin
No,
with.
no. They don't have to be licensed in anything.
Okay.
It would be nice.
I could apply?
Yeah, there you go, okay. We'll assign you your area, and then all those people down there can blame you. I like that. Jason, I backtrack on hiring somebody. We found him.
I can tell you what it's worth.
Yeah, and I'm one of these too, where education is education, and resumes are resumes, and all that kind of stuff. I like the man or the woman that says, hey, you give me a good chance, I'll do the job, I'm on you. Sometimes they work out way better than any education can give you. I'll tell you what, I'd be happy if somebody was just getting out of junior college out here, for instance, wanted to live here, stay here, hunt, fish, everything. They could come into this office, become an appraiser, be set for the rest of their life, living where they want to live, and, so, yeah.
What's the salary range?
I don't have it here, but I will tell you this, one of our problems is, go look at what we pay, and then you go and look, Cass County, for instance, has openings. Yeah, and that's a problem when they're outside looking to come in, because they could go to Cass County for a lot more money than here. But I still think, I'd like to believe that there's somebody local here, would like to stay here, would like to be an appraiser. Who knows, someday it could be the county assessor, whatever. You give me either a man or a woman who just wants to work, and they're set for the rest of their life here. Always be a job for them. Always be a job for them.
Can I put a couple of the appraisers on the spot? They're in the room. Thanks for being here. It looks like if you have to take care of all of these here, that would be probably more than a person could.
Our plates are already overflowing just with Tracy being gone for the last couple months. There's just a lot more to pick up, a lot more slack. Finishing off the rest of the season out in the field, now entering it, getting ready to put out the notices. There's just a lot more for us to do in our day-to-day. It's pretty overwhelming.
And I wouldn't say it's necessarily our slow season. We're going out in the field, yes, but for the work, it's not. And bringing a new person back last October, it would have been hard for them to work because they have to work under somebody else's license if they don't have one for at least a year. And to get a good baseline of how the job works, you start in the field, start at the beginning. So it makes more sense now too. And I know you were talking about the mobile stuff earlier too. A lot of times when we go out, we take the work that we know we're going to do, but if we're on our way and we see something, we don't know if we have that or not. So we're a lot of times making double trips to the ends of the corners of the county when we wouldn't have to have everything available to us.
It's going to help with setting up the work.
Yeah,
and
because there's, we still get people billing without permits. And we don't know if the other person got it. So if we're going by, we can stop at the driveway, put in the address, look to see if it's in there. If it is, great. If it's not, we can pick it up. Rather than come back or go way in there. And some places, you know, you don't want to, you want to go to the places where those have to.
Well, thanks for being in there. Hang in there. Great.
Well, it sounds like their workload didn't change, so. And their budget, it's budgeted.
Is that a
Hope
motion? Commissioner?
you're trying to save money going forward. But I would make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Hell, seconded by Commissioner McIntyre. Any further discussion? Thank you, Len, for being here, answering questions. Thank you guys for being here too. Hang in there. So, any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Len.
I'll keep your application up on my desk. Hey, you know the area down there.
Backwards and forwards.
All right.
I'll leave it there.
Next up is consider approval of public health educator position.
Yeah, so, Commissioners, this will be a new position, an addition of a position. Today I have Derek and Tara here to help explain the reasoning why we should have this position and how it's going to be funded and those kind of things.
All right, this was a position that we discussed at the committee of the whole with these new dollars that are coming in from the Minnesota Department of Health regarding the Response Sustainability Grant, Cannabis Education and Prevention Grant, as well as the Foundational Public Health Responsibility Grants. That's all new monies that are coming into the county that we were anticipating, but we were waiting for a final number to come from the state. All of these funding sources have grant requirements that come with them. As it sits right now, with the grant requirements, you got to have staff capacity to be able to fulfill these grant requirements. We don't have that right now. Everybody's plates are filled through other grant requirements that we utilize, as well as managed care type of stuff for disability waivers and things like that. If we didn't get this position, which is no county dollars, it's all these state tax dollars, state grant dollars that are coming in, this work wouldn't be able to be completed in Koochiching County. We'd end up losing this money back to the state, and our members of our communities wouldn't benefit from what this job could do. I mean, cannabis prevention and education, that's a huge one right now with the legalization of cannabis with very little guidance that came up from the state. I know we've been figuring that out at the Cannabis Ordinance Committee and things like that. This is to help educate the community, educate our kids, make sure that these substances aren't being used. We also have the opioid settlement dollars. That's something that we didn't even factor in here with this position, but this is something that this person could be the point on the opioid settlement dollars to get those out there into the community to be used with what they should be used for. Response Sustainability Grant, that's emergency preparedness. It was very evident back in 2019 and 2020 that the state had been greatly underfunding public health emergency preparedness. We've been preaching that for years, but it was falling on deaf ears, and then something actually happens and they're scrambling. So they created this new funding source for emergency preparedness funding for responding to pandemics, responding to things like the historic flood that we had. Public health has to take a point on that every time something like that happens, and all the other stuff has to be kind of dropped and you have to respond to that. This would allow us to get certain plans in place, run through exercises with different community partners, with the schools, things like that, in order to utilize those funds how they should be utilized. The Foundational Public Health Responsibility is really kind of what it is. Minnesota adopted this new national framework for public health responsibility. It used to be the 6 areas of public health. This is very similar to that, but it's maternal child health, it is infectious disease prevention, it is access to services, several different things that can be worked on using these foundational dollars to build up our capacity, which is critical in areas like our own where we lack services, we are lacking these. If we can come with coalitions, get things together, help other entities respond to our needs in the community, it would be a big win. All of these things, the one thing about public health I want everybody to remember is public health is preventative. And by getting these programs in place, utilizing these dollars that we have the ability to utilize if we have a position that can do the job, by getting these preventative strategies in place, it will save us money in the long run when it comes to the reactionary stuff, out-home placements that are related to substance abuse. One of the things that Tara, we did at the last board meeting, she got this Credible Minds going with, it's a mental health platform to help address mental health needs in our community, which we know are a huge deal. Anything preventive we can do can help prevent our out-of-home placements for children and adults. And that's where a lot of our big costs come in in the public health and human services realm is around those.
So this position will help with that?
Yep.
The mental health of things directly?
Yep.
This position, I think we need to back up and just put it out there that public health is at max capacity right now, so it's going to help alleviate some of the other duties that are already on my plate and our current health educators' plate, because we are beyond maxed, and these requirements keep coming down from the state, and it's all good work. It's preventative work. It's population health. It's for the health of our county, and it's work we want to do, but we just don't have the time and capacity to take it on right now. And so that's why the state has given us this funding. So really, bottom line is, we're not asking for anything but your approval to bring someone on to do the work. There's no taxpayer money being asked for here. It's all grant funded. And if you don't allow us to bring someone on to do this work, we're gonna have to give the money back to the state, and then I'm gonna come back here and ask you guys what you think we can eliminate from our plates, what isn't as important to get done anymore.
And if this funding dries up, this just goes away?
Well, if this particular funding dries up, it shouldn't, because I've been wanting to come forward with this for over a year, and I've been waiting for sustainable funding.
Okay.
And now that we have it, that is why I'm coming forward. This isn't just a one-off grant. These are funds that we are expecting to come back annually. And also, if we have this position, and it's right, I put it right in the job description that you'll need to research and write grant proposals for new opportunities. This position is 100% grant funded and will continue as long as grant funding exists. And so they will have the time to be able to research and write grants. That is so time consuming, and we just do not have it right now. So to keep their job going, they're gonna be motivated to find more grants, and there's plenty of grants out there. So, and we're a team, it's a team effort. So it's an all-around win for public health, and I don't know why you wouldn't allow us to bring someone on, I guess.
And I guess I want to add from an HR standpoint, Ricky, you'd asked if the funding did for some reason go away. This is a non-union position. This is an at-will position. They could be laid off without union agreements. Just to add from an HR standpoint.
Question for Adam, is there liability for the county here moving forward with this? Future liabilities or anything like that we need to be?
I'm not aware of any liability, no. I think there's bigger liability in not carrying out the programs that the money's available for. I think that, if we can keep people healthy and have good public health, that reduces our burden and liability on the human services end, which is helping these people with these issues navigate to be successful in life. So those are our high cost pieces in.
And it will probably help our law enforcement as well.
Well, yeah, but I'm just thinking back to when they ask, when AMC asks, what would you like to see? And a lot of the public health human directors at that time, they wanted to see the prevention. That was kind of top on the priority list, was the prevention. Would this be something similar to?
What is AMC?
It's just something that we Association of Minnesota Counties, okay. And they used to put out surveys for each different, I think Commissioner Rhodes sits on the PBS or PHHS committee for that, and then this is probably 3, 4, 5 years ago, they would ask, well, what do you see in your county as being a priority? Early prevention, early childhood prevention, early adult intervention, and that was some of the stuff. Would that be similar to where these are coming from? Okay.
Yep.
Exactly that.
Yeah, and that's where the push towards prevention, that's where a lot of this funding sources came from as well, was that push towards prevention.
Okay.
That's what these grant funds are designed to do, is bring in prevention programs, prevention techniques, partners to do that.
And if you're interested, I'm more than happy to give a public health presentation or have even bring a couple members of the public health team so that you can understand really what it is we do in public health. If we can get this position, it's gonna allow us to create that presentation quicker. Because right now, I'm saying I'll do that, but I've got a long list of things that it would take me to get to this. But happy to share that with you guys. I think it would be really, it's actually one of my it was one of my goals for the next 5 years when I came into this position, was to make sure that everyone understood what public health was and does, and that how critical it is for us to be at the table to help make decisions when big decisions are being made, because so much of the things that even you guys make decisions on affect the population health that you don't probably even recognize. So it would be a really great opportunity as well.
So it's been in the works for quite some time, probably not just here right now, but
No, and it's
probably
happening
at the-
across the state. Itasca and Aiken have already brought on additional people, so they're ramping their staff up. I mean, that is exactly what this money is for, is to help us lay the foundation so that we have the people in place to do the work that is coming our way.
All right. Well, thank you for explaining that there. And I think too, we'll hold you to that, I think, but we'll give you some time, obviously, to get it on. I've talked to Derek a little bit about maybe giving us some more education on the whole public health and human service side of the county too, for myself and for commissioners and for the public too. Just kind of give us little blips, pieces where we can understand it and maybe move forward. So, and I think maybe once we get rolling here, we can maybe have a couple of committee of the holes over the course of the next couple of years to do that. So just kind of give us a heads up on what's going on. So
yeah, I've spoken with all the supervisors about that too, and everybody was very excited about that after our conversation, that we wanted to, you guys were interested in us coming in and presenting about, something quick, nothing super deep in the weeds, but what are all the programs that we run out of the county are, and I think that's important for you guys to know and understand those as well. And the supervisors are very excited about that as well. So.
Well, it's a whole other world. I gotta admit, it's a whole other world of things that people maybe don't know or see as clearly as some of the other stuff that everybody looks at. So I think it's good too to, if they're willing and you're willing and we can get them all on the same page, that'd be great to have that happen. So I would appreciate that myself personally, and I think. Just for more information, and it never hurts to.
No, I'm anxious to be able to bring you guys this information, honestly.
All right. Well, thanks for the grilling and sitting through it and whatever. But it is a position that wasn't here before, so I think we do want to have and ask those questions and be as thorough as we can be. And I appreciate you working with us a little bit and giving us the committee of the whole and then this presentation here. So. With that, I would turn it over to the board.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Thank you, Commissioner Hell. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries.
Go find a horse, you guys.
Yep, go get something.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Next, under Human Resources, is consider reappointments to East Koochiching Sanitary District Board. We have a couple of them here. I wasn't sure if this had been done before, so it's suggested that they come for approval, post the East Kooch approval. East Kooch is recommending the reappointment of Don Villig and Jeff Clow to 4-year terms each.
Yeah, Matt looked up their bylaws, and these board appointments are supposed to be appointed by the county board.
By the county board. Okay.
4-year terms.
And the East Cooch board is fully supportive of this, and we had discussion, so,
Looked like they'd been there for quite a while, both of them.
yeah, there's,
Don's been there for a long time.
yeah, he runs the meeting efficiently, and he's on top of everything that happens, honestly, and Jeff's a great member too. He has hands-on and a lot of background experience over the years too, so they're both great appointments, I think, so.
I move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. The next item up for consideration is approval of the Corson Roof project bids. Come on up, Justin. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, good morning. All right, so as we talked at the committee of the whole, we received bids for earthwork work scope, the roofing work scope, and the electrical work scope. We had 3 work scope on the roofing project. The project was mixed between a little bit of civil work for storm collection and of course the roofing. Wagner Construction was the lowest civil or site work scope on utilities at $297. Nelson Roofing was the low roofing number at $329, $317. Cantor Electric was the low electrical work scope at $15,300. And I see in your board book you have our bid recommendation letter. We did recommend to not accept work scope 1 site work, but accept work scope 2 and 3, which is Nelson Roofing and Cantor Electric, for a grand total of $344,617, as listed in that bid recommendation letter. So, any questions for me?
What's the value of the building?
Off the top of my head, I can't even get together with
The cost of the roof would cost a lot to build another one, right?
Yeah, you know, just to try and somewhat answer that, Dale,
Do we
when
have
you get
enough?
in those kind of buildings, you know, you think it's we run into this quite a bit up here in International Falls because you've got a big building. And people think all these big buildings, like maybe the Armory and some of these others, think, oh, they're worth all these kinds of money. The problem you have is if it's not being used for what it is, who's going to use it? What's it worth? And, you know, Super One, for instance, I think we had up like 600,000 or whatever on that, and now look where it's at now. And we, when we go to Concord and Menards and all them buildings, they're like a box store. Who's going to come in and take it over? And so they don't have the value up here that they would maybe in somewhere else where there's a lot of need for use for something like that. You know, could be, you bring up a good question, the charge of that roof doesn't maybe look at another building, I don't know, you know.
Well, and actually, we did look at another building.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know if you were here at that point or not, but we did actually look at a couple other options that were discussed and vetted. And some of the repairs and stuff were substantial on some of those other buildings as well, compared to what we have to do at the current building, existing building. So we did go through that process. And ICS had a hand in that a little bit with some of the looking at the other buildings and seeing what the costs would be overall, and they were much more substantial than what this is here, by quite a bit. We were very considerate of doing whatever would be more efficient, and so we actually spent a few dollars doing that too. So looking into that a little bit, and this was kind of the path forward. I think that the building obviously needs some work and needs certain things over the course of time, but this is first and foremost, it needs a roof before anything. Any of those other ones should be fixed. There's no sense in fixing ceiling tiles if the roof still leaks, you know what I mean? So I think that's one of the considerations. The other consideration is the bids were a little bit higher than what was anticipated and expected. But this is, I think, due somewhat to our location, where we're at and where we're located. So as unfortunate as that is, or fortunate as that is, it comes with a cost, I think, so.
To be fair, they came in significantly higher, but we did get 4 roofing numbers, so I feel that is a good representation of the market for roofing in this area.
Wishes of the board.
I'll say let's accept the phase 2 and 3, skip 1.
Yeah, you could. I would say board action could be approved going into contract based on the bid recommendation letter or something to that effect.
There's a suggested motion on the RPA there, if it fits for you.
That's to approve awarding contracts for the Forest Land Annex Roof Replacement Project per ICS recommendations by accepting a low bid from Nelson Roofing and Work Scope 2 in the amount of $329,317, and low bid from Cantor Electric on Work Scope 3 in the amount of $15,300. Further, to reject all bids for Work Scope 1 for a total of $344,617.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Roach. For your second.
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Hell. Discussion.
I'm just not comfortable with the way that whole thing is playing out. I'm just not. History of the flat roofs, size of the building, age of the building. I'm concerned about, we're going to double the value of the building with one, probably. I understand Glenn is right, what do you use it for? But I'm not real comfortable with keeping pouring money down that hole. Especially in light of some space being freed up here, potentially, so, in this complex that could absorb a big number of that office space. So, not all of it, probably, but I think Dean had said at one time that the square footage was kind of comparable, kind of close.
It's close to
Other discussion?
I hear your concerns, but then if we didn't fix it, then, and say we move them over here, then now we got, what do we got? We got a liability. Right? I mean, because it's gonna keep deteriorating. I don't know how, hopefully this roof now won't leak and it'll last a long time, right? Because then we don't have to, but I don't think we can go through too many more years of water running down around the computers and down the walls, and I agree with spending more money that we don't have, but 100%. But at this point, I don't know what we do. Because we aren't freed up over there, and we won't be freed up for probably another year and a half. And we're supposed to be in here in December. But it could be longer than that, right? And we could, you know.
We'd have to remodel this space.
And we'd have to remodel that space, and then we got more water coming in, and they can't be working on them conditions. They've been working on them long enough. And if we don't do anything, then we got another building that's no good at all. There's my 2 cents worth.
Further discussion? Hearing no other discussion, we have a first and a second. If there's no other discussion, I will call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Opposed for nay? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Justin. Great. Next up, Public Health and Human Service, we have a void.
There's a few of them.
A few voids, yeah.
Yep, and this is stemming from what Adam was explaining earlier. They're doing some cleanup, so these voids are old voids that have been found for checks that weren't cashed.
Okay.
Things like that. So we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, actually. So the only current one is one that was from 1/28 of this year. The other ones are back in from 2023 and 2024.
Oh boy, look at that.
Yeah, and the one, it was a Medicare Part B premium that comes out of, that we do for our clients, that it was a double amount instead of the single. That's why I did.
Chair,
Right.
where do they find these checks at then? Just out of curiosity. Where do they come from?
My understanding
is
is it's checks that were issued that just were never cashed or never utilized. So,
Or got lost in the mail or something.
yeah. And
Or never received. I mean,
yeah.
Could have got received and thrown in a pile and no one cashed them.
oh boy.
No.
Okay.
So,
With
similar.
some in a treasury assistant position, this cleanup process got missed. And so they're picking that back up. We should never be waiting a year to clean up uncashed checks. So they're on top of it now, and they'll stay on top of it, every quarter or so.
Yeah,
They'll probably
okay.
be reviewing these types of things. If someone hasn't cashed it within 3 months, we need to go through this process sooner, but
No penalties to us necessarily.
No.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
And did we need a motion on every one of them, or
I think
can we blanket it?
I think we can do it together.
Need a motion? I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second to approve the warrant voids as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Please note Commissioner Roach is not present. It'll be a 4-0 pass. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Len, you're up again.
Back again. This actually is to request, if my understanding is right, a motion was made to accept the mobile was voted on, approved, and we discussed this a little bit earlier today. What we're here for today, as I understand, is to sign the contract. To back up a little bit, the initial money is coming from, what's your name? Yeah, and so that the money's got parts taken care of. The annual installments, if I'm not mistaken, is a little over $4,000 or something.
Yep,
That's
4,000.
already, she's already budgeted the money for this. We've already budgeted the money going ahead for this at about $4,700 a year or something like that. So,
You have some seed money to get going with equipment
Yes,
and stuff,
yes,
and
yes.
it'll come prepared, and you'll get some training out of it and all that too.
Pardon?
You'll get some training with the
Yes,
system. for sure.
the contract was, when we got the original contract, I sent it, Justin and Derek and I met and went through it. And it was pretty much identical to Aiken's contract. There's 2 other counties, I think, that have already signed on. And then I sent it upstairs so the county attorney could look at it. And he had just a couple of minor changes that he didn't like the wording, so I went back and they changed them, and he was okay with that. So, it's a good thing, and I think I told you before, this came up a number of years ago and it didn't get off the ground. And so it is what it is. It's St. Louis County already has this stuff. They're just a county that, they seem to be ahead of everybody else when it comes to technology. And you heard Derek speak a little bit. I mean, it helped us quite a bit immensely when we had the flood and we had the deals out in the field. We could see where we're at, we could check, we could load the photos on there. And we couldn't have done that without them. And there again, that was a case where we had to inspect every parcel on water or whatever was damaged in water. So, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I think it'll make the job easier. It'll save a lot of the duplicate type stuff. But I think, as you heard me earlier, it's not going to save us from hiring another person. That's just too much.
Right, and the length of contract, this is for
Pardon?
the length of contract?
How long is it? 5 years?
I believe so. Are you?
I know we
I
discussed
think-
when me and Derek met, it went through 2029, and if there were no changes to that, it would be 5 years.
Yeah.
You could add on again if you'd like to, okay. And they're supported by other counties, have the same system and all that jazz?
Well, what's happened is, short story, what happened before when this came up, CAMA gets involved because that's where information comes from, and then the county or the company that's working with them. It's like they didn't trust each other. We don't want to give you this information, and they don't want to give us this information. That fell through. Okay, that's all been redone, a different deal. Almost, I know all the counties are on board, but I think there's only 2 that have signed, but part of that is because the rest of them are waiting to see where it goes. There's only 2 or 3 this year. We're 1.
We're working with them since we got put on the first phase of implementation. They're bringing on more counties in 2026 and in 2027 as well. So we were one of the earlier adopters.
And if I remember, I would just say, hey, get on board right away because you get, you know, the first treatment and the help and all that kind of stuff on that.
So when are they coming up? Are they coming up here pretty quick before the season?
It hasn't been released yet,
Okay, all right.
and I don't know when that is.
Yeah, I think it said 3 weeks after the agreement is signed is when they try to get things started.
Okay. So you'll have it for this summer then anyway, for sure?
I hope so. I really do. Yeah, I really do.
All right. Wishes of the board.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
What's the total cost of the contract?
I don't know if it's in here.
And we need that for the minutes.
Yeah, I thought I had brought the board stuff from when it was approved, because it had all that.
So is it on page 4, the first installment and final installment added up?
I think that's correct.
So 2383 plus 6925.
And then you have the annual cost.
30,808, is that enough?
Yeah, on my mind, I was thinking it was around 32,000, but
Is that,
It's a not to exceed 3808.
does that not include the iPad?
Doesn't look like it.
That is correct. It does not include the iPads in the contract. We'll get those separately.
Are we asking for approval for that today or not?
I thought it was in here.
I believe the cost of the iPads was approved in the previous
Yes.
RBA project.
Yes.
That's already, the iPads are already approved?
Correct.
Wasn't it 37.2?
Yep. That'll be the final number, the 37,720 for the mobile accessory solution and the iPads.
You already have approval for the iPads?
Yes.
So it's just the 30,808 for the,
Well, that's approved as well as part of that previous RBA. Today is just getting the approval to sign into the contract. So it's all been budgeted and approved, just need approval to enter into the agreement.
I just want to know what we're signing, for what the total cost of what we're signing is, so I can put that in minutes. So, is that 30,808?
That's what you added up with the 30, or 23,000.
I'm just
plus
not sure if I'm missing
36,000.
something else in here. Do we have to pay that annual fee of $4,040 plus $725 this year too?
No, I believe that's included if you look at section 3.
My understanding that
subsection.
starts next year.
If you go down to section 3, subsection 2, 100% initial subscription fee is $3,108. So that's included in that first installment for the first year of licensing.
Through 12/31/25. It's on that. It's 100% initial subscription service fees, 3108 prorated, so probably less than 3108
Yep.
through the end of this year. So it should be a few months less of that.
Yeah, so that subscription fee is covered in that first installment, and then section 4 just says that continuing on there will be annual fees.
Plus the 725 mobile license for
Correct.
3 or 4 of those.
4,040 per year, and then 75 per mobile license.
All right.
And that's already in our budget.
All right, wishes of the board.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hell. Commissioner Roach?
Yep.
Second by Commissioner Roach. Any discussion?
I just want to make sure I have the motion correct for the minutes. So your motion is to approve entering into an agreement with, I think it's Wolpert Inc., doing business as Data Cloud Solutions, for the mobile assessor Gamma Cloud software in the amount of $30,808. And further, the board, we're using land project funds from the recorder's office to pay for this.
Yes.
And per statute, those funds require board approval. So, and further to approve using the land project funds.
I think you're correct.
Does that make sense for a succinct motion?
Thank you, Adam.
Yes, say it again.
I barely have it
You
written
gotta
out.
play that back.
All right, sorry to interrupt.
All right, we'll include that in your motion, Commissioner Hell, seconded by Commissioner Roach. Thank you. Administration.
Thank you all.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And the motion carries. All right, thank you, Len.
I just want
Thank you,
to
Justice.
thank all of you for your support and everything we discussed today, because we're getting ready to mail out the notices, and I'll need support when that happens, so. Thank you again.
Thank you, Len. Auditor Treasurer, Joan.
We need to do a little bit of redistricting with a couple precincts. This has kind of been an issue for many years. I just want to get it cleaned up and taken care of. As you can see by the map and what I sent out, we have a hospital district, the Big Fork Valley Hospital District. That's currently, it only affects 3 precincts, Big Falls, Southwest, and Dinner Creek. Big Falls is its own precinct. Everyone that lives in Big Falls is in the hospital district, so that's not a problem. They all get the same exact ballot. In Southwest and Dinner Creek, you just have a handful of people in each of those that actually live in the hospital district. Our statewide voter registration system software cannot split ballots for hospital districts. It can for school districts, but that's as far down as it can go. So we currently have to, every time we have an election, look up who lives within the hospital district and manually manipulate our data files that we send out for outsourcing to make sure that people get the correct ballots. By doing this, it'll just be automatic. There won't be any chance for error. Everyone will get the correct ballot. It's just administrative. The process would be if the board approves it, my next step is I send it to the Secretary of State, which they are behind it. They have wanted us to do this for quite some time. We post it, we send letters to those handful of people that their precinct name will change. and then we change our address ranges in their system, and it'll become effective April 24th after the 56-day period.
And that 56, is that for public notice?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I was gonna ask you that, if it was to notify the folks and make them well aware of what's going on or whatever. So. All right. Wishes of the board.
So we're changing the district size, or we're confused?
Well, there's currently just 2 districts that are affected, Southwest and Dinner Creek. We're making a 3rd one, and we're pulling all of the people out of Dinner Creek and all the people out of Southwest that are in the hospital district, and that will now be one new precinct. So that everyone that's in that will be in the same precinct. We're creating a 3rd.
I was thinking the hospital district was changing, but no, the
No,
precincts are changing.
just
Okay.
the precincts are
I
changing.
got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntyre.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Excuse me.
Good morning.
Oh, no. Sheriff, next up is consider approval and sign the emergency management performance grant.
So this is our yearly grant from Minnesota Homeland Security Emergency Management Department. This grant, it's a 50-50 grant. State gives us roughly just over 16,000. County matches 16,000. This is what pays essentially for Willie Koochiching's services. It's the money behind our emergency management program for the counties. There is no dollar change from the previous grant, which we signed last year. This is for 2023. We've already completed the work in 2023. The state's about 18 months behind, because you can see the performance period is from January 1st of 2023 to June 30th of 2025. So the state is delayed. So we've essentially done all the work. What this will allow me to do, once we get the signatures, I can go back and submit for reimbursement for the work that we've already completed.
So
Yes.
Aaron, I was reviewing our year-end 2024 financials, and I was seeing that we had budgeted for, I think, was it 20,000 in reimbursement for this program?
Yeah.
And we didn't receive it.
We haven't received the 2024 grant yet.
So if we receive it after this, then will we apply that back to 2024 for revenue? For the books? I mean, we can talk about that offline.
We can talk about it offline, yeah. That's kind of a matter of, I guess, I don't know how the county prefers to, do the accounting on that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit frustrating. We've expressed our frustrations to the state, actually just about all the counties have, because their program for the EMPG grant, it's way behind. Like, it should not take this long for us to, this performance period is due in 4 months. We're just getting the grant, right? So it's like you want to combine 2.5 years of work into 4 months. So the state recognizes that they need to figure something out on this end.
Is there reporting that goes along with this?
Yep.
I imagine?
So that's just it. So when Willie does his progress reports, so he does he's already completed all his quarterly progress reports, met all the requirements that the county needs to meet the requirements. It's just we can't submit for financial reimbursement until the state actually releases the grant for signatures, and then we sign it.
Sure.
Then I go back and I fill out the request for reimbursement.
Well, appreciate you doing all that. I know really you guys do a great job with all this, and definite bonus for the public around this. So.
Once again, I say it every time, but Willie's the person who does all the fantastic work for it. So he's on top of everything.
Great. Chair would accept the motion to approve and sign emergency management performance grant for reimbursement.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach.
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Hell. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you.
Never mind, just get your signature. You need to sign? Here's a spot for 3. You need to sign. There's this one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You don't want the other stuff?
No.
All right, next, line of course. Hey, Nathan.
Hey, good morning.
Morning. And you are looking at a couple things here.
Yeah, so the first one is about a month ago, I came to the board to seek permission to get quotes on a new department vehicle. We did that. We sent out solicitations to the 2 local dealerships. We received only one bid back from Falls CDJR. And you can see the numbers there. the unit came in at $41,082. Similar, basically the similar spec truck on the state bid price is about $65 less than that, so we can't even go get it, for that. So we're recommending to go with the local dealership quote and then to include the trade-in of our Unit 99 for that trade-in value that's listed.
How many miles are on Unit 99?
It's got 155,000 right now, and part of the deal is we use it until the new one comes in, so it could be a couple, 3 months probably. So that unit needs some body work too. Just the rocker panels and stuff are completely rusted off of it. So.
Sounds good. And this is it from the local Chrysler Dodge Jeep.
Yep.
Ram, okay. In the amount of $41,082, the trade-in value of $4,000 for a total of $37,082.
Yep, correct.
Wishes of the board.
I'll move. Support.
Thank you, Commissioner Erickson. Thank you, Commissioner Hell. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you.
Nice to do business locally.
Yeah.
Dealers do it, yeah.
Yep. They always seem to be really competitive with the state bid prices.
Not very good. And now you look at the trust fund apportionment.
Yeah. So this is kind of an annual event here. Once we kind of close out the trust fund account for the previous calendar year, so it's kind of a 2-part motion. One is to set the reserve amounts of $40,000 for the parks account and $150,000 for our timber development funds. That's something that we do in the budgeting process as well. Those are the same numbers that we have proposed for the 2025 budget, but this is kind of the final stamp now that we're closing out that trust fund account for 2024. And then the second part of that is we're allowed, Koochiching County has a specific session law from many years ago that the board is allowed to set aside up to $10 per capita into this promotional account to be used for the promotion of tourism, agricultural, and industrial development. And that split there is what we've been running with the last few years for that. The total amount is a little bit less than last year, but it's based off of population. So obviously, based on the resource that we use in the latest census, the population went down a little bit. So that's why that total number is down a little bit. So basically, after we take
those three figures off the top, whatever's left in the trust fund account at the end of the calendar year, that's what gets apportioned out. You can see that on the next page. Those are based on, these first figures, the way it would flow through. This is what each of these entities would receive then from our 2024 trust fund account.
What's the difference between the 217.36 for cities versus how does that work? They're not supposed to get 270.
Oh, so there was so normally most of our income is from timber, right? So that's at 20% under state statute that goes either to the city or the township where the revenue is realized. So obviously we don't have organized townships, so 99.9% of that 20% goes to the unorganized township fund. We did have a repurchase last year within the city limits of International Falls, so they're entitled to that 20% of the repurchase amount.
Got it.
These look similar to what it was last year?
It's down from last year, but we had talked about that in the budgeting cycle. I mean, I think looking back I think the one big month was January 2023. We receipted in almost about $1 million just in that 1 month. And January 2024 it was like 600 and some thousand, and that's, it ebbs and flows through the years, but that was the big month. That was about what we were, that's what we were let shy this year versus last year.
About 600,000.
Yeah.
And at one time we were at $7 per capita, weren't we here? Maybe.
Yeah, and that's totally. we've reviewed that multiple times. The statute or the session law that we have lets us go up to $10 per capita. You guys, it's totally at your guys' discretion on what you want to do. We used to be $7, but population was more back then, so the total amount was, we bumped it. I think it was the board chose to bump it about 6-7 years ago. So.
Right. Wishes of the board. Can we accept these in one motion? You want separate?
Yeah, no, you can do it in one.
Okay.
And I kind of included last year's motion there at the bottom, so you can kind of see how that reads. So.
So the amounts that have changed, but the dollar amounts don't necessarily need to be in the motion. We're just looking at the percentages.
Yeah, the only amounts that need to be in there are those reserve amounts.
The reserve amounts.
For parks and then timber development account. So timber development again is what we use to buy our seedlings, to plant that stuff, to do forest inventory type work, that investment type stuff back into the resource. So
helps with that. Okay. So note that in the motion is those two numbers will be what they are for reserves, park reserves and timber resource development reserves. And then the other motion, part of the motion would be the percentages for the account reserve. Not necessarily be the $10 per capita and then the percentages. No number amounts.
Yeah.
The total for 2025 wouldn't be that. It would be, it would be that, but it doesn't need to be in the motion.
Yeah, really all we have to do to change it for the minutes is just change the years, basically.
Okay. Great. Turn it over to the board.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Erickson. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks
You
again.
put out a release to the paper or dollar amounts that are going to the schools in the district?
Yeah, usually the paper covers. Laurel does a good job when she summarizes.
That's a healthy chunk for the schools.
It is. I mean, it's. I can tell you here. So just the school districts alone over the last 10 years have gotten combined. We've gotten over $9 million from that. Basically, timber revenue. So for majority, large portion of it's timber revenue. So yep, it's a good deal. So
Yeah.
for sure, so.
Absolutely.
And that's why last year, when all of that Tyler versus Hennepin stuff kind of first got off the ground, we were so concerned about, what was gonna be in the scope of that issue, so.
Thanks for fending that off.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a big deal.
Yeah, it was, so.
Some tense moments there at times,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's hiccups still with anything new, any new system, but I think we'll work our way through that, no problem, so.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Nathan. Next up, environmental business. Hey, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
We'll start off with an appointment.
Yeah, this first item's on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee appointment. So the Solid Waste Advisory Committee was established by the county to provide, to review solid waste issues. They're a standing advisory committee to review solid waste issues that are referred to the committee. The SWAT committee is comprised of 13 members representing various solid waste interests, and so we bring those issues to them, and then they make recommendations to the county board as needed. We recently received notice from Crystal Plants, who happens to be here, that she's unable to continue to serve on the SWAT committee. Crystal has served on this committee and provided an excellent level of public service for many years, and we thank her for the many years of public service. As a result of the vacancy, we advertised throughout Koochiching County and received 2 letters of interest, one from Bruce Turbin and the other from Steve Henriksen. At the February 13th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the commission recommended Bruce Turbin to fill the vacant Solid Waste Advisory Committee position. And so I would recommend that appointment. And I also have a certificate for you to sign, Crystal as well. So.
The solid waste, and are they not backwards? You need 2, you need a solid waste and you need a P&Z?
Yes, yeah.
I think Bruce's interest was in the P&Z.
So Bruce they both were interested in both.
Okay.
They provided a letter of interest to be on both committees. And so I provided both of those to the Planning and Zoning Commission to make a recommendation to the board. And I have the next one available. They had recommended Steve Henderson for the Planning and Zoning Commission as well. So
Yeah.
I think because we were lucky to have 2 people willing to, it was hard to find people to fill these committee positions. So I'm very thankful that we have 2 good people that will, I'm sure, serve the committees very well. So.
I guess when I was looking at it, I thought maybe it was a typo, because when I look at qualifications, and then I look at solid waste and things that are coming for that, the qualifications of Mr. Henriksen there would probably fit pretty good on how you take care of the landfill issues that are coming.
Sure.
And of course, Bruce is out county, but if they recommend it, did Bruce accept it? Yeah.
Bruce said he was interested in either one. It would make no difference to him. And Steve was the same way. He says, whatever the wishes of the board are, we're happy to try to serve and provide public service on these committees. And they both are locating in the Birchdale area. Steve is.
Yeah, my understanding is Steve is in Oregon or someplace until May.
That's correct. Yep. Yep, that's correct. And he has the property in the Birchdale area, and then also something on Rainy Lake. And then Bruce also is located in the Birchdale area as well. So which is great. We have rural representation, which is one of the things that we were looking for. So that's great. So my request on this particular item is to request approval of Bruce Turbin to the Koochiching County Solid Waste Advisory Committee.
Great, wish of the board.
I move.
Thank you, Commissioner Erickson.
Support.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. A discussion.
Again, I just want to thank Crystal Plants, again, for her many years of service.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you,
Thank you.
It's really important having dedicated people like Crystal serving on these committees. So.
Very well done, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next item is just what we talked about. It's on an appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission typically meets as needed on the second Thursday of each month and is comprised of 11 members. I included a list of the members that are currently on the commission. It was established by the county board to review county planning and zoning ordinances, comprehensive planning, hold public hearings on applications received by our office on interim and conditional use permits and subdivisions of land as required. It provides recommendations to the county board. He makes the final decisions on any application. As you are aware, Ralph Lewis, the longest serving member of the Planning and Zoning Commission, resigned, and there was a need to fill the vacant position. We advertised throughout Koochiching County and received the 2 letters of interest that we've already discussed. And Bruce Turbin and Steve Henderson said they would be willing to serve on either of the committees. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended to appoint Steve Henriksen to fill the vacant position on this.
I move.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Erickson. Thank you, Commissioner Roach. Thank you to Mr. Lewis, too, for his long time involvement.
And we did send that certificate that you signed and approved to him, and as well as I know the board was very thankful for him and his service.
Yep, very good. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you.
I'll tell you one story if you bear with me. I thought it was an interesting fact that I learned at our Planning and Zoning Commission. Ralph Lewis, who had resigned in 50 years on the board, I believe after a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, he met his wife where they were having a retirement party. So he's on the meeting and then he met his wife. She asked if she could sit next to him, and that's how that all developed. So the Planning and Zoning Commission gave back. So
it's a great story. Yeah. Great couple.
I think she was extension. I think she was extension. Yeah. So it was an interesting story. So it was fun to listen to. So the next item I have for you is to consider approval of the Sky and Joy Ronkin request for an interim use permit in order to convert their home into a short-term rental property. The Planning and Zoning Commission met on Thursday, February 13th to hold a public hearing on the interim use permit application submitted by the applicants in order to convert their lake home into a short-term rental. The parcel is located at 3089 County Road 125, International Falls, which is a riparian parcel located about 6 miles east of International Falls, near Point of Pines Beach, Rainy Lake. Approval of an interim use permit will allow the applicant to apply for a short-term rental license as required in the Koochiching County short-term rental ordinance. As per the section 5.2B of Koochiching County short-term rental ordinance, an interim use permit is required for this shoreland parcel. If approved, the Koochiching County zoning ordinance, the initial interim use permit will be valid for 5 years. Subsequent renewal and continuation of the interim use permit is conditional upon the compliance level of the owner with conditions of approval, which shall include the continued compliance with all short-term rental ordinance and licensing requirements. Just looking for approval of the interim use permit. The Planning and Zoning Commission made the recommendation to approve the interim use permit application as submitted, and I've included the data from all of the meeting and staff reports. So. 2 letters were received and read at the public hearing. 1 letter opposed the application, and one letter was in support. So,
Planning and zoning approved already.
The Planning and Zoning Commission made the recommendation to approve the interim use permit.
We have kind of one up there near that already, right there across the road.
Yes. Yeah.
So we have the 2 within the 750.
Yes. Yeah.
As it were.
Yes. So one of the restrictions on short-term rentals is no more than 2 can be located within a circle of 750 feet, a circle with a radius of 750 feet. And so this is the second one in a very small area that now in that geographic area, depending on where a new application might occur, they would be restricted from obtaining a short-term rental license depending on the location. But for sure, if they were right next door to either one of these, they would not be able to get a license.
And they are quite close to each other. They're literally, I think, across the road from each other, so that'd be...
And I don't know if, I don't believe the applicants are online. I don't know who Unverified is, but if anybody, if the Ronkins are online, if you could speak up. I don't think they were going to be able to make it. They were traveling.
And to note, this is an interim permit as well, with those 5-year timeline upon permit compliance and county compliance and et cetera. And then of course the point of sale, that IUP is not go on to the deed. It's removed and doesn't go with the property. So if there's a change of ownership, even within the family, it still stays. It goes away or has to be reapplied for at the very least. So.
That's an excellent point. The interim use permit is valid for 5 years and can be renewed at the wishes of the board. But that would have to come here, or administratively, I should say, if there was no valid complaints or if there was a need to review some issues, then we'd have to deal with that. But yeah, it's not transferable upon sale. So if there was another applicant that wanted to be on our waiting list within this geographic area, and one of these 2 properties had a transfer, then they would be put to the bottom of the list, and the new applicant would be able to apply.
How close to that public beach is it?
Yeah, so that's probably a few hundred feet, maybe 500 feet, probably max, I'm guessing. It's not very far. So yeah, it's really convenient to a small public beach that probably is beneficial to their clientele.
Yeah, this one here is right behind the channel, all you can see, I guess. But and I believe there's one that's kind of adjacent across on the other side of the road, maybe up the road or back a little bit, I think, on that same county road.
And I provide a lot of documentation on each of these so that you can really get a sense.
Great.
Keep using paper, makes our road go around.
Well, it's important so that you fully understand the application and the reasoning behind all of the details. So that's why I include it all.
Wishes of the board.
So that would be the last one in that loop.
I'd have to look at the circles, but yes, within the 750-foot radius, there's 2 very close together. any very close to those two would probably have to be on a waiting list.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Roach,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Hill. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you.
So,
Cochran place, huh?
yeah, so the next one is an interim use permit for the Cochran Family Investment Partnership. I have, I believe John Bushlak is here, so he's representing the Cochran Family Investment Partnership. So, but the Planning and Zoning Commission again met on February 13th to hold the public hearing on an interim use permit application submitted by John and Peter Bushlak, representing the Cochran Family Investment Partnership LLC, in order to convert the lake home into a short-term rental. The parcel is located at 2567 County Road 103, International Falls, which is a riparian parcel located about 8 miles east of International Falls on the South Jeffress Bay of Rainy Lake. Approval of an interim use permit, again, will allow the applicant to apply for a short-term rental license as required in the Koochiching County Short-Term Rental Ordinance. An interim use permit is required for this shoreline riparian parcel. If approved, as per section 5.16A1 of the Koochiching County zoning ordinance, the initial interim use permit will be valid for 5 years. Subsequent renewal and continuation of the interim use permit is conditional upon the compliance level of the owner with conditions of approval, which shall include the continued compliance with all short-term rental ordinance and licensing requirements. Subsequent renewal term will be determined by the county board. Change in ownership or loss or forfeiture of license under the county short-term rental ordinance will immediately terminate any interim use permit issued for this use. At the public hearing, the Planning and Zoning Commission heard information provided by the applicant and heard public comment. The Planning and Zoning Commission made the recommendation to approve the interim use permit application as submitted, and I've included a lot of the documentation in your submittal there. So, and John, do you want to provide any additional information?
I just don't know what more to say. That we said, you know, in the past meetings that so this is going on our 3rd year, and we've had great reviews on the place, and no complaints from any of the neighbors, and we're just waiting on your approval. That's all. We complied with all the regulations that we're supposed to.
Yeah, they're in the process of working with the Minnesota Department of Health to get that in place, the license with Minnesota Department of Health. Approval of the interim use permit allows them to then work towards the license that we can issue, and it's required that they get a Minnesota Department of Health license as part of our licensing requirement. So we kind of work hand in hand with the Minnesota Department of Health and make sure both licenses are in place.
All right, wishes of the board.
We'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner McIntyre. Any discussion?
I'll just let you know that on this one, this is the first short-term rental applied for in this geographic location, so there's availability for another one fairly close to this particular property if somebody applies. So
Most of those are regular houses.
That's correct. Yeah.
I've been in just about every house.
I bet you have.
I've been in Cochran. So.
Have you? Quite a place.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Guys have a good day.
And we'll be in contact.
Okay, good enough.
Oh, thank you for all the
Thanks, Matt.
paper.
Yeah, I know, you guys love that.
Great.
I did look through most of it though. It's
Hot in here.
At this time is a public comment. Do we have anybody in person or online for public comment? Hearing none. Do we have any other business?
No.
Right. No other business. No public comment. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Roach. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And we are adjourned.